Okay, this has been finished for a few weeks now. This is Ephy. If you didn't meet Ephy come out to play in December. He's part of the collaboration between Louise Heinzel and Barbara at 49 Dragonflies. Now, December, oh, it it will not roll off my tongue. I will be honest with you. It's a combination. They've done this for several years now. The name is a combination between December and ephemera. December and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm sorry, ladies. Just listen. I'm gonna do a quick flip through. I did follow the prompts, but I did not do them exactly in order. And I'm gonna do a quick flip through for you. Now, there are a few things here that you'll notice on their prompt list. Right here, the prompt list that we used. There were some open days, and those were like days when Ephy didn't have anything specific for us to do, so that it was not every day of the month. On those days, I chose to use the slots in my book, my journal. I decided to use those for places to insert some family memories for Christmas from this Christmas, and I thought that was a pretty good way of documenting. Um, my my cover is not a very traditional cover. I don't know if you can see that it has a very defined ridge. I used the top off of a container from the produce section at my local grocery store. They have this area where they have the clear plastic tubs, and they're kind enough to cut things up and prep them so that all you've got to do is take them home and use them. And as you know, some days my hands don't want to chop onions, so I do make use of those occasionally. They're not cheap, but it's good quality. These are scrap fabrics, and this is the Ephy that they gave us as a freebie. If you want to look at their websites, they both have links. They do have their things. You can go to the coffee shop for one, and I forget where I got the other, but they are listed. So here's how I started. I thought Ephy, to me, seemed like a fun little guy. So I wanted to give him a fun place to play on his first page. So I tried to incorporate elements of nature. This was the net that was covering our Christmas tree this year. I always save our ticket on our tree because sometimes we get bigger trees, sometimes they're smaller, but they're always grown in North Carolina, which I think is pretty cool because that's where we live. We do not usually go to the mountains to get them, but it's just fun to keep them so that I can see how much we paid, how tall was our tree that year, and how much we paid for it. And I've incorporated some of these wrought iron. These were out of a fashion magazine. And this page got so well loved, it decided to pop out. And I haven't done anything about that yet, but I will. They did have the kits. They have kits and they had some freebies. So, those things are still out there and available. This is a piece of sari silk from one of my arty friends. The theme on this page was a butterfly and three torn things. And then you've got coins. And I love the garden. I love playing in the dirt, and I love to grow things. And when I was a little girl, my mom said, "Well, you don't think money grows on trees, do you? Do you see me out there shaking the trees? There's nothing falling down but acorns," and things like that. So that just made me laugh. And then this one was, let's see, salvaged birds. These pieces were from some of my scrapped gel prints. And the feathers I had found when my husband and I were out treasure hunting. We were on a lake that had been partially drained. So that was kind of fun. I finally found a place to put those little tails. This was a piece that came to me through some Happy Mail exchange. You see, I've got a lot of this old sheet. It was a pure cotton sheet, which one of my parents, either my mother or my mother-in-law, I'm not sure which, had. And it was full of holes, but I thought, I bet I could do something with that. The prompt on this was to put Ephy in a bubble. And this was from a box of candles. And it already had the circle, and I thought, well, hey, I can make that work. And this fabric scrap is what I made pillows out of for my sofa. This one said to use clocks and wings. So I did not have any clocks that I could think of, so I went shopping in a magazine. And I found this watch, and then I found some jewelry, and I thought, okay, I can make a watch and some wings. And then I thought about it, and I said, time flies when you are having fun. And this is just some little punch outs. This was from Darcy's D-Stash from last year. Thank you, Darcy. And this was one of the things that was available through their websites. Mushroom robots. When I saw this one, I got so excited because I do love mushrooms. And this was a gift bag. It came to me from Happy Mail. And I have little pockets, and this is some fabric from my mom's scraps. My mother thought if you had the most fabric when you died, you won. No, she didn't. She had a lot of fabric, and we've given it away and given it away, and I swear it multiplies in the tubs. It keeps multiplying. So anyway, this is something I made when I had COVID. I didn't have the strength to get out of bed, so I just started playing with things. These are actually from medication. When you get your medication and it has that insert, all those millions of words that you're supposed to read and understand, and it's written for a genius times about 500. Well, I gel print on them, or some of them I even, play with watercolor. And then when I felt better, I got to the sewing machine and I stitched them and made like little belly bands out of them. This envelope came to me, this pickle envelope came to me from someone doing a trade-off, a swap. And this was for friendship bracelets. Well, my hands don't work so good, so I just did a braid and used it as a tassel instead of a friendship bracelet. But when we were growing up, we would make these friendship bracelets and you'd give it to somebody. We do them a lot of times at summer camp. And you tie it on your ankle and you would wear it until it just wore away. But it was just a reminder that, hey, you made a new friend. This day we were doing the houses. The reference here is to one of the ways that people in other countries will take, say, a broken vase with a crack, or a vase that has a crack in it. And instead of discarding it, they'll repair it and then put some type of gold filigree. And I used just scraps, of course, scraps fabric I already had. I've got some book pages, just a little of this and a little of that. Yeah, I'm a junk journaler. Honestly, I am. Okay, this prompt was forgotten snacks. The forgotten snacks, in my case, they're not forgotten. I just can't have them anymore. So you have a candy cane. When I thought about forgotten snacks, I thought about candy canes, and I thought about my mother-in-law and how much she loved them. I did buy a box, and I shared them with some of our little kids in the neighborhood because I don't have grandchildren, and my children are grown, and it's just fun to see the magic of Christmas unfolding. I was watching a YouTuber, and I can't remember which one it was, but they were talking about, things you could do when you were away from home and you just had a few minutes. And I threw some scraps in a bag. I was going to my allergy doctor, and when I get allergy shots, I have to wait for 30 minutes. So it's really good time to watch YouTubers. If you're my favorite. If I'm watching you at the doctor's office, you're among my favorite YouTubers. But I have my headphones on. I have a craft in hand. And I have my tablet playing a YouTube video. So on this particular day, I had taken just odds and ends scraps, and I did have needle and thread. And you could do it with just glue, but I popped that on the page, and it says, "Hey, that looks pretty good to me." And then this was in my Happy Mail. And forgotten snacks, we can't ever forget popcorn. Popcorn is really yummy. And then this says Dewey's. Dewey's Bakery is one of our local bakeries. It's been around for a long time, and they have a lot of items that have become traditions in our family, especially around Christmas time. Now, if you see this is for Lent chocolate. This is my favorite bag. I think these bags are beautiful. The wrappers are pretty, but my daughter loves this stuff, and every once in a while I will indulge as well. Now, when I think about forgotten snacks, like I said, I did, add Christmas elements to this. Christmas at our house starts with waffles. Homemade, from scratch waffles. Currently, I make 2 batches of regular and then a batch of gluten-free. But before my in-laws died and before my mom died, when everybody came over, at one point I made 3 batches. And it would take about 2 hours to do it all. Sometimes I had as many as 4 waffle irons going. You're talking about a symphony of things going on in the kitchen. That happened. And where there's waffles, there's bacon. I'll tell you a funny story. The first year that COVID, the first Christmas that COVID was a thing, one daughter was married and living away, and the other one was not living at home at the time. And a lot of that had to do with COVID and my immune system and not being able to. I just had to be super careful. We were afraid not to. I had shirts made for the family. They were green, and they said something to the effect that not even COVID, can cause a waffle gate or a bacon gate at our house. And so I packaged up for them, made sure they had a waffle iron, packaged up every ingredient they needed to make their waffles, and sent them bacon and like a care package. And we actually FaceTimed Christmas that year. It wasn't the same, but we won't forget it. This is when Halloween meets Christmas. Yeah, some threw up on my pages, right? When I thought about it, I thought, my mind said, okay. And I thought about it, and it's like, I don't know. Usually if I see a prompt, something comes to mind right away. Well, it wasn't happening for me. A few days before this page needed to be done, if I was following along on the schedule, I was in a fashion magazine that my daughter had given me, and I saw these glittery dresses, and I thought, you know what? That reminds me of the full trees that you used to have that you would put the lights that rotated around and change the colors. Oh, they were so cool. And I thought, that's what that reminds me of. So I think I'll do that. And I wasn't sure at this point. I still had no clue how the Halloween was going to come in. Well, lo and behold, there was somebody that was kind of late coming to the party, as some people would say, and they needed a swap partner. So I sent them some stuff, and they sent me something. I opened the mail, and there was some fabric in there, and they had this and this, a bat, a little black cat, and look at that, a black broom. It was a witch's broom, but I was able to make it into a broom that fit the cat and the snowman. Now, I was kind of proud of myself on that. Pretty clever. Yeah. Yeah, I think I did all right on that. This was one of Ephy's days off, and it became cards from friends. So, here are a few of the stamps Some of them didn't make it to the book, but made it to the stamp collection for future projects. This was some ribbon that was on a gift I got from my daughter. And then this is a simple pocket that was provided. It was a freebie of a little Ephy. Ephy is just everywhere. Adorable. Do you see that? Ephy's got wings. Ephy can fly. Some people took Ephy to Africa. So if you look up the prompt, December ephemera, you will see some of the most beautiful work ever. And this was a little note. And I didn't put anything on it yet, but there's time, and there will be time for that. And my magical creature, I was inspired by a piece of trash that made it through the laundry, the washer, and the dryer. It rolled out on the floor when I was pulling my clothes out and putting them in the basket. I'm like, what is that? It looked like a gum wrapper, but where it was wadded up, it just had a funny shape. And I started remembering that I had received this little mouse and how cute it was. And I thought, that mouse could be friends with cute little Ephy. So I made a magical creature. My mouse got a wrapper. It got a wrapper that made it a unicorn, and then it got some little baby goose feathers. And of course, I put some mushrooms around it because, magical and mushrooms just seem to go together so well. Now, this one, plaid and polka dots. Please touch. Okay, so, yeah, I put stripes in there too, just because it seemed like they all wanted to hang out together. I've got little tiny polka dots. See that? White with pink, just a little tiny. I've got plaid and polka dots. And when it said touch me, this is the first fabric I thought about. I knew it wasn't going to show up really, really good, but I said, okay, I'll try it. And if you're looking at the background on this, I have watercolors. I even have adult watercolors, but I've never really learned to use them a whole lot. So I have been trying to watch many of you who are so good at it and try to see if I can't, improve on my craft situation. This page is Nature's Treasure. I love to be outside. I love to find things in nature that are fascinating. I find this a lot. It's a type of moss, but it grows mostly on trees and mostly higher in the trees. But since we have a lot of trees in our area, I find this often. This little maple leaf. I broke the tip of it putting it on here, but, it was one of the last times that we got up leaves. And I have to tell you, my husband bought me my own blower. I have never felt so special as I did when he said, well, would you like to have your own blower? Would that make it easier for you? So he went and got me a handheld blower. And I got out there helping him with the leaves. I mean, before I was using a rake, I was helping him, but it does definitely cut down on our time because leaves at our house are a major deal. They start falling and they don't stop usually until close to the end of November. And then we do have some that wait till about February when the buds start coming out on the trees is when it forces the old leaves off. This is some vintage wrapping paper. And it just seemed like it was fitting there. That came out of a magazine page. This was from our trip to Florida. It was, they call it Spanish moss, but a lot of the trees are heavy laden with it. I always look at bark. I don't know why it fascinates me, but this color right here just really seems to speak to me. And this was part of that gift bag that was sent from a friend. This was part of a paper pad. And then there's this. This belonged to my husband's grandmother, Willie. And she made all of her clothes. I don't think she had store-bought clothes until she was well into her old age years. I'm going to see if I can slide this out without being crazy. I hope I can get this where you can see it good, because I think it's pretty funny. Do you ever sabotage old clothes, or harvest or scavenge? Well, my husband had a pair of jeans that had done their duty, and I wanted the back pockets because I have a whole drawer full of back pockets just waiting for the right time and place to be used. But I had never tried to take the inside pocket out and use it. I thought, well, hey, what might happen? So I took the pocket out and I put it beside my jar of water. And when I would clean my brush, you know how you get, well, let me just show you. Probably easier. Okay, so when I paint, I try to keep from getting paint down here. But, you know, sometimes it happens. And when it gets down there, it is so hard to clean. So I started just doing this, you know, trying to make sure I got things out. And I looked back at it one day and I said, you know, why am I not using that for art? So it found its way into the book. And I took just some tag board and sewed that, just zipped it along. And there you have it. This was from one of my swap partners. This was kind of a let's see what you can do with your machine kind of day. I have a sewing machine that was given to me by my mother. It's really nice, but she had it when I was a little girl, or a young adult, I should. Hold on, I got it. My throat's getting dry because I'm running my mouth too much. Okay, so I took out pieces of fabric and I just glued them on the paper, the page, and I thought, well, that's not going to be very smooth. I'm not sure how I'm going to use that. So I started just playing and stitching, just like a wild one. You know, just let her rip. I was twisting and turning, just having a good time. So these were actually off of mail that came during Christmas. These pieces, these snowflakes, which I love, came off of a piece of garland that's been hanging around, and they have been used to craft many things. And then this is the recycled fairy day. And I want to give a shout out to my friend, Carrie Gibson. This was one of her freebies. But I also want to tell her and my friend, as one of my friends who uses watercolor, that I bought myself some serious watercolors before Christmas, and they're pearlized. And just after watching, you know, different ones do the colors and play with their watercolors, I decided that I wanted to do something a little more serious with the watercolors. This is the back side of that piece where I went berserk, okay? So before the fairies showed up on the scene, I took some watercolors and I filled in. I just took each area and made it its own little thing. And when I got through, I started thinking about the colors I'd used, and I thought, wait a minute. Carrie just gave me some free Christmas trees, so I can make something beautiful just like she did. So I went over and I watercolored this page, and this is probably one of my proudest. I kid you not. Let me see if I can get it where you can really see the colors. I look at it and I see almost, it looks like an early morning sky. You know, the sun is coming up, and those colors that rise up from behind the trees are just so beautiful. And I thought, okay, this page is worthy of those trees. All right. So, graphic fairies. These are graphic fairies. But they also have mushrooms. And I love mushrooms. But look at how all of this just flows together. And then I used this yarn that we bought for my daughter for a project back in high school. And I'm going to tell you, this has been the gift that keeps on giving. I remember it being a little pricey, but when she said, Mom, I see the others and I know they're less expensive, but this is the one that speaks to me. Well, when your daughter's trying to be artistic and you want to support her efforts, you do what you got to do. Now, speaking of daughters, I have two, and they love to go to Florida and play. They love it so much that, they go down sometimes 3 and 4 times a year. And when they go, there's a certain place that makes these yummy, yummy cookies that they like to visit. And I got a text, and my daughter said, "Look at this. This thing's so cute. I've already got it in my bag to save and bring home because I know you can put it in a journal somewhere." Do these eyes not look familiar? These little sweet eyes. Look. They almost remind me of Ephy's little eyes. Little sparkle, little mischievous. Kind of fun. But there's the menu on the back. I didn't want to alter it. I wanted to keep it just the way it was. And like I said, I did use this to put some of my Christmas things in, to hold some of my Christmas memories. Let's see if I can get that back on there. So when I opened Christmas decorations, all kinds of stuff falls out. And at one time, I think this may have been used as a piece on a gift bag, is what I'm thinking, because obviously I'd put bells on it. And I thought, okay, well, why can't I make like a hidden paper clip and clip that on, and then I'm not destroying this. And if my daughter decides that she wants to use it in her journal, she can. So we'll move on. This came on the outside of a package of one of my artist friends, who I was fortunate enough to win an auction and receive her hand painted art. And it said, "Handle with care, fragile, thank you." Hey, that describes me. Sometimes I need to be handled with care. Sometimes I am fragile. This is one of those little pieces that I made when I was sitting in the doctor's office. And I just remembered who it was. It was Natasha at Treasure Books. That's who showed these. And she was using layers and just little pop, some little pop of color. There's our little Ephy playing in the woods. And this right here is kind of a special piece to me, and I'm gonna have a special video about that, so we won't talk about that much today. And the theme here was me and my crush. Well, my crush is, I love making junk journals. I adore the character of Ephy. And this is some new washi tape that my husband got me for Christmas. It was in my Amazon wish list. And so this was just some stencils splattered, just, paper that was laying around, a little piece of something. And I don't know about you, but when I look at this, it makes me smile because it just seems to work. This used to be a skirt. People say, well, I can't afford to go out and buy stuff. Well, I'm not telling you to go out and buy stuff. I'm telling you to use what you've got. That means your skills. Use what skills you've got. Use what abilities you've got. Now, as I told you, I use this to include some things that about Christmas. Um, my husband wanted to know what I wanted, and we had recently just bought carpet, and so I mean, we get what we want when we want it, for the most part. If it's something that we can afford to do. But this year for Christmas, I asked for a big, big, big gift. I decided that I wanted to have my DNA tested, and I thought about it for a long time. I went with a company that could do two things for me. One, they could take my family history back about 50 years based on my maternal DNA. Second, they can also test. The test will include, the DNA will be analyzed for diseases and defects. Now, some people say, "Are you sure you want to do that?" I thought long and hard about it. I'll be honest with you, I did. Um, but anyway, there's a place for that in here, in this wonderful, fun little journal. Vintage meets modern. I love went on a field trip with my daughter, my youngest daughter, and her 8th grade school class, and we went to Charleston, South Carolina. And I have never in my life seen so many beautiful pieces of wrought iron. I mean, it was everywhere. And so when I thought about vintage, you know, I thought about those ironworks. I thought about old places, old trees, heavily wooded forest. And I thought, well, Evie probably would like playing there. But then we've got to go on over. Let's look at the other page. You've got the contrast. You've got your city. But yet, we've anchored it with that piece of ironwork. This was I don't even know what it was when it started out, but I thought, okay, it kind of looks like sunshine. And if you look, this is one of those pieces where I had made some stitches in the back. So I just went on and continued it on, and this is not watercolor. My daughters both always let me look at what they're going to discard. If they're going to throw some stuff out, makeup wise, or clothes, we always look to see if there's anything that somebody else might want. Well, there happens to be a lot of beautiful eyeshadows that come out of their little what I call grab bags, and this was eyeshadow, and I actually used stencils in the background. Just to give it a little bit of a distress and to try to give, like a change for the eye. Granted, I just do journals for fun. I'm not a professional. I really am not. This is another one of those splattered pages, that I played with, stitched on the sewing machine. This came from one of my swap partners. And then when it came time to do the spaghetti box, spaghetti boxes generally have a window. Not my spaghetti boxes. And when I had 6 spaghetti boxes on the backup shelf, not a one had a window. Luckily, I emptied my tissue box, and just days before this prompt, and I said, it's not exactly a window, but it is an opening. Maybe I can work with that. So that's what I did. And this is a stencil that my husband had for me for Christmas. It was from Amazon, a very inexpensive stencil, but it was the first time I had used it, and I used some watercolors, and I think it turned out okay. The pieces here, those were from one of my swap partners, but you see, I had to put the word no up there. No spaghetti box window. I know, I'm silly. And here we come to the end of this journal and this journey. And one of the things that was talked about in the beginning was a door. And I didn't make that door, and I didn't make that door, and I didn't make that door. Well, I got to the end, and I said, what's holding me back? Why am I not making this door? I just happened to be getting some stuff out of my box where I put like cardboard. cereal boxes and the like. And this piece popped out at me. And so I decided that that was going to be my door. At my house, all are welcome. And then you've got some ironwork. And then if you look down below, you'll see a chain. That was really a purse. And it's kind of funny to me, but I want to read what I've wrote. Louise and Barbara, I want to thank you for your inspiration for December ephemera. I wish I could say it. It just don't roll off the tongue, but it's a beautiful word. I want to thank you for your inspiration. I appreciate the fact that you include people and you make things available for them, whether they can afford to pay you or not pay you. I mean, that shows artist with a heart. And I feel very grateful to have been able to play along and be part of the community. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future. It does mean a lot, and it was a lot of fun. And I can only imagine how other people have feel when they finish theirs. I know there's still people working on them, and if you're still working on yours, it's okay. It's okay. The idea is we want to get things done. We need to do them in the time that we have and not be stressing. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and to all of those that participated. It was a lot of fun. I hope you have a good day, and I thank you for coming along for this flip through. Come mingle with me again real soon.